So this is a setting in an Indian village. "Throw a rock at that stupid dog," the barber shouted, and the village munsif flinched an inch away from the barber's knife. He saw the barking mongrel enter the village courtyard and a beggar follow it, whose crazy laugh mingled with the loud bark. Slowly thumping his walking stick, the poor man came and sat on the concrete platform around the large banyan tree. Summer was leaving. Monsoon clouds scattered across the sky, offering cool hopes to heated lives. Soft breezes filled the morning air with frangipani and oleander. Rustling of leaves mingled with sweet birdsong. A block away, the train depot bustled with engine whistles and travelers' vehicles. Shopkeepers opened the rattling tin doors of their businesses. They clanged bells of auspiciousness, offering morning incense and basket of fruit to the colorful gods sitting on their cash registers. A couple of teenage boys walked along the rows of stores, sprinkling water on the ground to keep the dust down. Tea tents got busy, serving glasses of scalding chai from the huge copper boilers lined up against the back wall. Bundles of newspapers lay in front of the cashier. Here and there, near the storefronts, a few women sat on small stools with heaps of locally grown vegetables and fruit spread on gunny sacks on the ground. Dozens of varieties of greens contrasted against eggplant and beets. Morning dewdrops glistened from their freshly plucked stems. A stray cow passed by, snatching from the pile of vegetables. "That's enough from me. Go to the other pile," the woman mumbled kindly, brushing the cow away with a bundle of green onions or branch of curry leaves. Monkeys jumped from tree branches, their babies grabbing their undersides. They snagged fruit from the vendors, their kicha-kicha laugh irritating the helpless women. The common village well pulley creaked every few minutes as women drew buckets of water. Gossip rolled off their tongues and giggles got carried away in the breeze. After the barber wiped down the hair off his back and arms, the munsif came and stood haughtily near the beggar. "Get off this platform, you dirty, shameless fellow. You know this is only for the village elders. I'm going for my bath in the river and then performing my morning religious rituals. When I come back here in a few hours, I don't want to see even a trace of you. Understood? Hey, barber, bring this man something to eat and drink. Then send him away. Go to the cloth shop and buy some dhotis for this shameless fellow. Put them on my tab." The munsif turned east towards the river steps. The beggar turned his back to the street and sat on his haunches. He opened the dirty cloth sack hanging from his shoulder. Meticulously, he took out pieces of charcoal and colored chalk stubs, arranging them in a fine pattern in front of him. The dog came and leaned at his side, sharing warmth from his almost naked body. A young woman passed by, head averted, but her fleeting glances saw that only a loincloth covered his genitals. Red and yellow heat blisters on his skin oozed disgustingly. Smudges of ash covered his back, arms, and thighs to ward off mosquitoes. Long salt and pepper dreadlocks hung down his neck. A matching beard reached his chest, touching a lone sacred Rudraksha bead hanging from a string around his neck. His nails were more than an inch long, filled with dirt and drawing materials. He laughed happily through missing teeth, noisily swallowing phlegm. One eye looked out of focus, as if a cataract matured. An unexplainable, soft radiance danced around him. Eyes scrunched, forehead frowning, he started drawing faces and busts, fingers frantic in sketching, head shaking in negative at times. He erased a line here and added another there. Hopping quickly around the circle, he kept on drawing, bust after bust. Faces of men and women mingled on the concrete, young and old, short and long, bald and hairy. Here and there he touched with the colored chalk, bringing each piece alive with a line or two. A smile here, a smirk there. A soft giggle escaped his parched lips as each face took shape and looked back at him. One face seemed to turn and look at the face laying next, while another stood taller to look at one a few feet away. Some eyes were closed and others poured out fear and sorrow. Decency and morality overflowed out of some, while mischief and trickery danced in others. Soon, people stopped by to see what the beggar was drawing. Some left, laughing that he was an idiot. Some lingered, whispering among themselves. Slowly, there were people standing all around the platform, looking at the familiar faces in the drawings, and snippets of confused, agitated phrases flew into the air. "Do I look that ugly?" a middle-aged woman lamented, straightening her hair and sari folds. "What is that on my temple? I don't have any ugly birthmarks, see?" One set her curls aside, showing her temple. "What is he doing with my wife? Whose hand is that on her arm? That shirt is not mine," shouted a young man. "My wife died a year ago. Why and how did he draw her? God bless her," another mumbled to himself. One old woman got very angry. "That shameless bitch, look at her cleavage, inviting one and all. When I told my son last week that she was fooling around with the rich villagers, he threw my dinner plate at me, screaming that I should go beg on the street. Can you see that Munsif or Karinam's eyes staring at her nudity?" "Shh! Not only has your son thrown you out, if anyone hears you ranting, the whole village will too. It's none of your business what she does. Maybe they need the money. Be blind for a few days, and then your ticket to outer worlds will come." "Watch my shop, you veggie girl. I have to go and see what's happening there." A grocer rushed down from his seat behind the register. The tea stall guy filled a few dozen glasses with hot chai and brought them over on a tray. The barber grabbed a glass and offered it to the beggar, along with a plantain leaf wrap of steaming rice cakes and coconut chutney. The beggar lifted his head as if asking, "Where are my clothes?" and smiled sadly. The barber hung his head in shame for hiding the clothes packet for himself, but slyly glanced at the drawings. They brought tears to his eyes. His mother's face was very clear and beautiful, but a hand was brushing at her forehead, erasing her red dot of marital status. He raised his eyes at the beggar to ask something, but a few customers called for his services, and he rushed back to his shop. Sitting the customer down, he started talking about the portraits and how fascinating they were. "I think there is some meaning in what he's doing." A bus entered the busy center, raising billows of dust, and came to a screeching stop. Passengers crawled out, pushing and shoving each other as people waited for the bus scrambled up. The driver and the conductor blew their whistles to bring some order. Seeing the commotion around the tree, the driver shut the engine off and got down. Buying a cup of tea, he too came and stood inside the circle of villagers to see what was happening. As he gazed at the human chalk faces, something happened to him. He recognized his own face and saw the beggar's fist reaching towards his portrait. He ducked as if to ward off a real blow and saw his conductor running to the bus, start the engine, and speed away. "He's the one after my job then," his lips mumbled. His tired body just let the bus go as he walked to a small broken wooden bench at the tea stall. "You saw what happened? That conductor, the bastard, tried to hit me and run away with my bus." He realized he was talking to the air, as everyone had already left to watch the tamasha going on a few yards away. Far away, the factory bell rang loudly, alerting all the workers that lunch break had started. "Let's come back again after the men leave," whispered one woman, and many others nodded and walked away. "You stupid beggar, why did you draw all this? What do you mean? See how angry everyone is getting. Some of them will kill each other in jealousy. Get up from here, go, go." A big pockmarked face looked at the beggar as his strong hands pushed him down the platform and his foot kicked the mongrel. "Leave him alone. Let him finish his lunch. He will go. Don't harm a poor beggar. Gods will throw a curse on you. Go home," placated a kind bystander. Slowly the crowd left, some alone, some in groups. The beggar got down the platform, picked up his worn charcoal and chalk pieces. He tied them in his rag and took the plantain leaf wrapped food, offering a piece to the mongrel. Then he tucked his stick in his armpit and started walking away. He turned back and saw the faces in the circle once, waved a hand like a blessing, and petted the dog. A smile danced on his lips as he followed the westward moving sun. Suddenly he guffawed like a crazy man and shouted, "Fools!" as huge monsoon drops plopped loudly on the platform and the parched earth gave off the refreshing scent tasting the first rain of the season. His loud laugh reminded the barber that he had wanted to see the paintings again. Asking a couple of customers to sit out the rain, he ran to the platform. Charcoal water dripping along the sides of the platform and running down the street was all that was left to see. He wanted to run after the beggar for explanations, but the beggar was nowhere to be seen, nor the mongrel's barks heard. Only inside his head, myriad thoughts fought against each other as he raced home in utter fear. He wanted to look at his mother's face, her red dot. Something about the sad wisdom in the beggar's eyes kept haunting him. The munsif got wind of the beggar and his circle of faces. He heard about cleavage and village elders. He left his prayer rug and hurried to the platform. Raindrops danced on his fresh haircut, and the monkeys on the trees laughed kitch-kitcha. Munsif's shoulders drooped down, and with heavy steps he walked back home, wondering what awaited him.